Attached.
The town of Hinton respectfully acknowledges that it is located on the First Peoples traditional lands. We recognize this traditional territory to show respect and understanding to those who walk this land since time immemorial. Today we uphold our ongoing responsibility to work together in the spirit of the intent of the treaties with all the First Peoples and nations that call this place home. The town expresses gratitude for the opportunity to build a better community on these sacred lands for generations to come. With that, we will call this regular council meeting for March 18th, 2025 to order. First item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Council, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening? CEO Gnasek, any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening?
Through the mayor, nothing to add.
Thank you, CEO Gnasek. Councillor Chambers.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the agenda for the regular council meeting for March 18th, 2025 as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. And council, the motion on the floor is that council adopt the agenda as presented. Now, are we voting by hand or is our electronic system working today?
If you're able to get onto Wi-Fi, because it does, or hotspot, because it does shut off at 5 o'clock.
Okay, council, we're going to be voting by hand this evening so as to avoid any of the technical issues. So, council, the motion on the floor is that council adopt the agenda as presented. Any discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. All those in favor? And that motion is carried unanimously. That will take us to section 3 of the agenda this evening, council minutes for adoption. Council? Councillor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that we adopt the regular council meeting minutes for March 4th, 2025, and the committee of the whole meeting March 11th, 2025, please.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Council, the motion on the floor is that council adopt the regular council meeting minutes for March 4th, 2025, and the committee of the whole meeting minutes for March 11th, 2025. Is there any discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. All those in favor? And that motion is carried unanimously. I will take us to section 4 of our agenda this evening, Citizens Minute with Council. Minute with Council provides an opportunity where residents can address council regarding issues, events, celebrations, or concerns. To ensure a constructive and welcoming environment, please adhere to the following guidelines. Keep your remarks concise, limited to 1 minute. Address the chair of the meeting when speaking to council. Avoid asking questions as this is not a Q&A session, and maintain a respectful tone and language. Today we have Mr. Brian Beauchamp for Minute with Council. Ms. Beauchamp, if you could introduce yourself and...
Brian Beauchamp,
Wonderful.
long-time resident in Hinton, and running a small business out of my house. I was just going to read this stuff for you guys and give a couple of
Put it right on there, yeah.
give a couple of counsel. But I come in and paid my business license on the 28th of last month, which I got, which is all in there. And later that afternoon, the computers were down here. I would have had one printed, but the computers are down, they would get hold of me. And the police officer, bylaw, in the afternoon, she tells me she revoked my license. I said, well, I just paid my license. And I had a license for probably 60 years. I said, 62 years. I said, what's going on? Well, I said, where's the paper saying you got the right to do anything? And she had just towed my bobcat from the front of my house and my dump trailer, which you're allowed to have stuff disconnected in front of your place, holiday trailers, as long as you move them every 10 days. And I do move it every 10 days. And I backed under it to hook it up. And she starts, F this, F that, if you don't frickin' move your truck from under there, I got a tow truck coming to get it. Well, where's the paper saying anything? Well, I'm just towing it before it costs you money. That's what she says to me.
Okay.
And didn't cost me a red cent, because I've lived in town long enough. Both towing companies. The other one, he totally refused her the day before. He talked to me Saturday morning. He said, I really didn't answer the phone yesterday. She was after me for a week to move her vehicle, to come and tow this stuff. And I said, well, she had no paper. So I went and talked to John Dunn. I said, what are you doing? Well, she just told me to take it down and impound it down in my yard, but I got no paper. And I'm walking by her, and the other peace officer with her, and I'm walking by her. You effing don't have any, he's working for me right now, you can't go talk to him. And I turned around to her and I said, it's a free world. As long as this street, I said, I've lived on this earth for this long, I said, I can walk, go talk to whoever I want. I said, and where's the paper? So I went and talked to John. John told it up to Ken Rashton, because I had a lady on there that I could lay certain things down, the trailer was one of them. And I called Ken, Ken unparked my Bobcat there for a couple of days. And yeah, go ahead, throw everything up there. So
Well,
either way, I left the letters. I've had to move out of the yard down at behind Black Dagger Wrestle, because it was owned by IAFA, and they gave me basically 3 weeks to move out, and then I got a month extension, so I got everything I could get out of the place, and where am I putting it? So I ended up bringing my shelving up, put it up. All my stuff is stacked on shelves, it's all neat. It just, my shelves are a little higher than they go.
Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. We don't need to
Yeah,
hear
but
more about
either
your
way-
personal circumstances.
Yeah, but either way, so I tried to get rid of it, but I need more time. And I need my business license. I'm still running my business.
Well,
And
thank
I'm
you.
paying it on time.
Thank you, Mr. Beauchamp. I wish we had an answer for you today, but this is
Yeah, no,
not
I
the time
realize
to
that.
say
I
it,
just wanted to make sure I got everybody's ear.
but we've heard it now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Good day. Councillor Hawes.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the details, but I'm assuming CEO, I'm not sure if the administration has been brought to their attention, but I'm assuming they're going to be looking into this.
Vanessa.
Through the mayor, yes, and through our unsightly property bylaws, Mr. Beauchamp has requested a council review of that file. That is a mechanism through our unsightly bylaws, so that will probably come to council soon.
Thank you, CEO Vanessa. Councillor Hawes, anything further?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hawes. Thank you, Mr. Beauchamp.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes citizens event with council this evening. That will take us to section 5 of the agenda, delegations and presentations. Item 5.1, Hinton Transit presentation by Monica Laughlin. Monica.
First of all, I want to extend sincere gratitude to council and also to Karen for her professionalism. I met with her in the FCSS office. She took consideration of the letter I wrote. This is intended to build on the schedule she made. It's to fill in the blanks and be an advocate for those who rely on transit solely as their means of transportation. That being said, I'd like to start the presentation. I will also give a little background. My background, I worked for 7 summers for Parks Canada in Jasper during my undergraduate. After my divorce, I relocated back to Jasper for a few years. In 2010, I was accepted into law school in Moncton. I continued studies in human resources. In 2015, I was accepted into a program of Master's in Public Administration, which I didn't complete for financial reasons, opting instead to work in insurance for about 3 years. In 2023, I had the good fortune to be able to purchase a mobile home back in the area I love, so I've been a resident of Hinton since November 2023, and I rely solely on transport, Hinton Transit. I use it average 3 times a day. Okay, we can start. So I will, it's my understanding that the new transit system was set up by a consultant from Jasper. So we'll look at how that fits our needs. It's to relay the experience of regular transit users and to advocate on behalf of the vulnerable population on limited incomes. I'd like to do a comparison of the demographics of Hinton and Jasper and how those transit systems meet those needs. And then I'll proceed to public safety concerns that come from my background in insurance. And I made some recommendations, they're just brainstorming ideas. Even after the presentation, I kept thinking this, and I've also included a few more concrete examples of the suggestions. They're just suggestions to build as a group. So we'll start. Okay, thank you. Jasper, it's a smaller community. I lived there for a long time. It's a very flat community. It has 3 service roads that take you to one specific location. The demographics of Jasper are quite different. They tend to be single adults, young adults. It swells in the summer. And if you see, each one of those loops takes you to a specific destination, one employer and back. None of them cross the railway track. There's only one traffic light, which is a flat section of Highway 93. And the hours are fairly fixed. I mean, anybody who works in campgrounds are part of the Public Service Lines of Canada, so those hours are set in stone. We can go to the next slide. Looking at the 2021 census, Jasper's population was 4,029. The local area in square kilometers is 1.84 kilometers. I know that those transit routes go an extra route, but the land area that it covers is only under 2 kilometers. Next slide, please. Hinton, as opposed to Hinton, it covers 2 former communities. It has a mountainous terrain, and it's a single bus route that's multi-purpose. It covers more than one daycare, more than one school. Jasper has a central location, 1 school, 1 grocery store. This is 2 shopping hubs, and many essential services for somebody who relies on the bus, like recycling, your groceries. So it's a far greater expanse. Next slide. And we see that the population of Hinton is doubled, 9,817. The land area is 33 kilometers. So that's something we have to really keep in mind in scheduling. The bus drivers are traveling a greater distance on highway. Next slide. So Jasper said it's several lines, 1 set of traffic lights. The sole purpose is to commute to work, smaller service area. Again, I've said it, the larger population, multi-use. Okay, and plus it crosses the highway and a railway track. That's the biggest distinction. Next slide, please. This is what I'm here for today. I have a passion for vulnerable people, and I just copied those stats. They're from the same source. This is the target population, 2,593 families who rely on the food bank. These people are juggling the share shop, they're juggling rent, and they can't even buy groceries. So this is, I'm here as an advocate for them. Next slide. Having relied on public transit for years in Moncton and in Edmonton, I know the bottom line in any public service, plus my courses in administration. Efficacy, cost effectiveness, and profitability. Is it worth offering this service? Let's go to the next slide. So, from the municipality's view, how is the public service meeting the needs of the people? And is it viable? And is it profitable? Or is it operating on a deficit? As a transit unit user, how accurate is the bus schedule from my home to rely on to arrive to the destination on time? So when I was living in Moncton, and I had to go down 6 stories in an apartment, across a major intersection, do a bus transfer to get to Riverview, how accurate is that number for me to know that the time spent going down my elevator, I'm going to get there on the bus on time? There's a direct correlation in any public transit. How accurate the bus schedule is will determine how many people use it, and if it's accurate and reliable, you will increase profits. If it's not accurate or reliable, people just won't use it. So what I'm just asking, since the use, has the ridership increased? I don't know. Are there extra associated operational costs that are hidden maybe, like 3 circuits per hour versus 1 hour? That's triple the mileage. What's the vehicle wear and tear? You know, what's the risk of the fender benders when the drivers feel rushed to get there? That in turn will increase the insurance costs. Even a no-fault accident will increase the insurance costs, which can last, I believe, 5 to 7 years. I'm not sure in Alberta. Then the cost of gas. So these are just things to take into consideration. My focus here is that the advocate for low-income families, the hospitality shift workers who are non-unionized, basically they can be called to work at any time. They can be given split shifts. There's very little rights for the workers. And I know that it was a noble cause to set up an incentive for mill workers, but actually I don't think that there's a huge market need there. They tend to like their big vehicles, and it's part of that kind of culture. I could be wrong, but as I was thinking, I came up with an idea for, I think we could target a population that doesn't have vehicles, that loves Kenton as much as we do. So next slide, please. So let's just look at the schedules. On the 1 hour route, and I was using that for a long time, it was the schedule and the frequency of circuits that was affected by the railway delay. But it was pretty predictable. Whereas in the 40-minute route, it's myself as a user that's impacted by the delays. So if there's a late train at 8 a.m., if I go to catch my bus at 10, I don't know where the train has been late, but it's, how long it's going to be. There's no GPS. One drawback I see is in cold weather, before you could wait in the Duncan Murray Centre and see the bus come. Now children have to walk. It may be a short distance, but if you have 2 or 3 preschoolers after swim, it's quite a distance, and you have to wait outside by the Lions Church with no shelter, as opposed to waiting in the foyer. A 40-minute transfer isn't always enough time to do your grocery shopping and get back to the bus. And a big concern of mine is the 3-hour suspension in service means that people lose their transit. Now, if you're earning $50 an hour, a loss of transport per day is a full hour's wage. And for that segment of the population, it's significant. So let's go to the next slide, please. So let's say we don't have a car and my child wants to get to, I want to go to the family tuning swim. It starts at 2:30, there's no bus swim, no bus schedule. I can't get there. If I want to access service to preschool story time, it ends at noon, so it starts at 11, ends at noon. So I'm either going to have to leave early and miss half of story time, or walk home, or wait 4 hours at the library. So is it meeting their needs to access these great community solutions? It's a question. Next slide, please. My major concern, and I think this comes from my legal background and insurance, is the new, removing the stops on Smith means that workers have to cross that highway. And, chances are they're not going to be an accident, but if and when there is, it could be devastating. I mean, the big trucks are geared down both ways. It's east-west with sinking in their eyes. And we all know that the trucks are, it's a major transport route. There's dangerous goods, logs, big heavy equipment. I think the biggest risk is that something from a sudden braking of one of the big trucks. And that could be, a tire goes flying off, a load goes into the ditches and requiring a highway closure. I mean, these are all well within the realm of possibility, and they could expose the town of Hinton to liability, to lawsuits. And what would, I know there's trucking companies, time is money. They're not going to want 5 traffic lights in Hinton. So let's go to the next slide. This is, I'm looking at, let's look at the positives now. So I think we've overlooked the obvious. Remove the railway crossing from the transit route. I mean, there's a significant mileage that they go every day. So that being said, instead of viewing it as a single route from Walmart to Athabasca, have 2 circular routes starting from Green Square. So the hill loop would basically be a highway. They go down Walmart, come back the highway, straight on the highway to Thompson Lakes, turn right, go into Thompson Lakes, cross the highway, then they're on the same side as the services and the restaurants and the hotels to drop people off, which is also due diligence, and then come back to Green Square. Now, I don't know, but I don't think that would take longer than 15 minutes, from Green Square back and forth. The second one would be the Valley Loop, and since I did that, I was walking down and I even had more of a modification. So the Valley Loop would be exactly as the other one was. You go up the mountain street, but instead of crossing onto Eden and going back on the highway, when you get to that intersection of Rock Road, turn left, go down onto Switzer Drive, and then go in front of Duncan Murray Center. You can pick up in front of there, there's parking available. It'd be on the opposite side, and then you go down Hardesty, at Temple, you could go around Bhutan, come back through Athabasca. So you're covering the same services for people waiting at the bus stops, but you're avoiding that whole problematic railway stop. That's what causes the stress. That was an option. I really think that, and it's really tragic about what happened in Jasper, but I think it's foreseeable we're going to see more people staying in communities in Hinton. And I'm thinking of like my British little relatives who come, and it's hard to rent a car here. Australians and Brits don't run on the same side of the street. So we could set up, this is a target market that they need, to have a day pass. And in the handout I prepared, I just did some number crunching, just to get a sense of how much money the town could make off day passes. Another thing I thought I was doing promotion with the Airbnb hosts, have them in for a little evening, maybe some free goodies, and have those passes available right at the bed and breakfast. Knowing for tourists, they're often disoriented. And if they were there, it would be so convenient that you're going to use it. And maybe get some corporate sponsors for the Airbnb hosts, like, I don't know, I thought of Friesens because I have rewards, but maybe Friesens would be into giving extra rewards for the tickets that are sold. So it builds community, and I think the Airbnb holders would be like excited about this because then they know that Hinton Transit is not taking their tax dollars, right? Like it's a win-win situation. So that being said, can we stay back on that side? The last one, please. So we target the tourist market. Oh, and another thing, given my background working for farms and stuff, like I remember, we could set up a little guide to the bus, the Hinton Transit, and note the points of interest. I mean, since I left, the Guild wasn't there. The Guild is great. Like, I didn't know that there was a little log cabin behind the training center. Like, put all those neat little facts on a map for people to use. Stop at the Valley IGA, stop at King's Soda Shop, see the photos of Hinton as it was. There used to be that big chess. I'm dating myself, but there was that big chess thing. And the guy who owned Queen's Bakery was so proud because he married his wife there. Now, these are fun facts. Tourists love that kind of thing. So if we were to set up a little map, and say, courtesy of the town of Hinton, focus on, showcase any corporate sponsors, I think the tourists would love this, or how to walk from the library to that lookout and give a history of the mill and how it was driven in Hinton. People would love that kind of stuff. So I would be willing to help do a writing project with at the museum just to get a few little points, and we could maybe set up a map. Okay, that's done. Another thing I would recommend is to extend the time for the transfer. I'm thinking then of these vulnerable families. If you had an hour and a half, you could maybe take your kids to McDonald's and go walk. That's an idea. If you want, I don't know, more surveys, Karen would probably love that. But the only way we're really going to assess the impact is to fill out a survey. So I just did an example. When I was in Moncton, they had somebody from transit that made us do a survey, and we had to drop it off before disembarking. That's an option. Another way to get around having a 3-hour break would possibly be to stagger the interruption of service. I just did a little brainstorming. It's not a recommendation. It's just like a brainstorming. This is how it could look. Maybe every 3 hours you have a 45-minute break. Every 2 hours it's 30 minutes. I don't know how you want to proceed. But that would give the drivers a bit of time to clean up the bus, do tasks, and you would achieve the same 40-minute circuit, which is Karen's great idea, but without one gap in service. Okay. I think that's it. Can we go to the next slide there? A sample user. If you're interested in that, I can't make a suggestion without giving you a concrete example. That being said, I want to thank everybody. This makes me really grateful to be back in Hinton, knowing that we have these opportunities to present to council. And thanks to Karen as well.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Loughlin. Council, do we have any questions for our presenter today? Councilor Taylor.
Thank you for the time you put into this. Appreciate it. How would an administration use something like this?
Through the mayor and council, so we do plan to bring back a report. We just want to track our stats for February, March, April. That's probably going to align with our federal funding application that we were to bring back a report as well. So this is great. Any feedback, ideas, like Monica shared, me and her met, and we chatted about it all. And that's the great thing about community. I'm always open to those ideas, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Loughlin. Oh, Councilor Hawes.
Yeah, it's for administration.
Over.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess, is that an accurate amount of time to get enough feedback, with the change in time? You said February, March, April. Is that a reasonable amount of time to get a good set of data, on these changes?
Through the mayor and council, I think it's probably in our best interest, just with the changes, to bring forth the data, especially if we're already bringing a report for the federal funding application too. I don't think it hurts to provide an update on the new transit schedule as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bouchard. Councilor Race.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, what is the feedback that you've gotten from citizens on the bus change?
Carter.
Through the mayor and council, so I've had a variety of feedback. Employers that I actually chatted with last week, they like the new hours. The 6 a.m. is helpful for them, and the late evening hours as well. I've also heard feedback of that the 40 minutes is tight. So that gives the drivers about, sometimes they're coming in, like Monica shared, if they hit the train, they're about 5 to 10 minutes late. Weather, right? That bad weather last week, we were about 10 to 12 minutes behind. So those are those impacts, right? So I think it is wise of us to bring back the report, see what our options are. So the reasoning of the 12 to 3 gap, that is why the option that was provided is because our peak times of the transit system when we did our survey data was 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. So we chose those peak time hours at the most cost-effective option. So we've received a variety of feedback. Positive that they like the new route, they like the shorter route, but times are tighter, so they have to, and then just reading the schedule. It can come across a bit more confusing of reading a schedule that has all of the times listed, rather than the half an hour, the 15-minute gaps. So that's also been shared, but the calls that we've received initially at the start of February is just getting used to that change. And I mean, there hasn't been a change in the system for 15 years since it actually started. So just transitioning to that.
Just
Go ahead, Councillor.
So do we have an app where people can monitor the bus and find out where it's at and how many minutes late it might be running?
In the Mayor and Council, we don't. But through our federal funding, we've applied for GPS systems that would also help us track the bus. People can then go online and see where the bus is, so that would also be helpful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. Thank you, Ms. Bouchard. Council, is there anything further arising from our delegation and presentation today? Seeing nothing, we'll move on to section 6 of the agenda this evening, action items, and item 6.1, extended producer responsibility, EPR phase 1, adjustment to town funded services. CO Vanessa.
Thank you, Mayor. I will turn this over to Mr. McLaughlin.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So tonight we're talking about the extended producer responsibility that is going to taking over our recycle center in Hinton. And depending on Council's decisions, it could be an increase in service or it could be an enhanced service. After discussing at committee of the whole, Council motion to continue to pay for the services that aren't covered by EPR, which I will go through. But I first wanted to cover some of the questions we weren't able to answer for you at committee of the whole. One of the questions, as we go to commercial cardboard, currently the town is paying for commercial cardboard recycling. We pay the tipping fees, and the businesses pay for the bins and the dumping of the bins and the hauling to the Edson recycling facility. The town pays $40,000 a year in tipping fees. The question was asked what it would be the impact onto businesses if we didn't do that. At the time we prepared this report, we had reached out to the 2 companies in town that have those bins, and they got back to us after this report was prepared. There's approximately 100 commercial cardboard bins around town. So if you take the $40,000 and divide that by those 400, or $40,000 divided by the 100 bins, it'd be approximately a $400 extra cost per year to those businesses if council chose not to do that. Also included with the commercial cardboard area was the $13,000 that we paid to the Edson Recycling to pick up recycling from the schools in Hinton, which was a decision council chose to continue last year. As we go to other residential services, when EPR takes over the recycle depot, they're responsible to recycle some new things, such as styrofoam, which we weren't recycling before, but then they also have some things that they're not required to recycle, and if we want to continue recycling at the depot, the town needs to pay for those costs. And so those were compost, aerosol containers, batteries, and electronics and computers. If council wishes to continue recycling those things at the recycling depot, the cost will be $17,000 per year. The hazardous and special product collections, this item, the EPR does pay for 1 roundup per year, but we collect the materials year-round at the recycle center as well as doing an additional roundup. So if we want to continue doing what we've always done with the hazardous and special products, that's an additional $40,000 a year. So if council wants to continue as they discussed at the committee of the whole meeting, we will continue to budget $110,000 to continue those services, and we'll be saving $302,000 a year with the implementation of EPR. Council had asked about depot hours, and we followed up with the Edson District Recycling Society, and under EPR, they do have 6 more hours to allocate. They are planning to allocate 4 of those hours to the Sunday reopening that everyone was requesting. So I think people will be happy to hear that. The other 2 hours, they weren't exactly sure where they were going to add them on yet. So when they make that final decision, there will be announcements of the new depot hours. And public engagement, EPR is required to do their own public engagement, and we reached out to them, and they are planning to do some of that, but following tonight's decisions, we will also put together our own information package and put it out there. We'll include the fact that with EPR, we will be working with them to work towards curbside recycling starting October 1st, 2026. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Councilor Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm confused, and hopefully Ben can clarify it. Maybe it's a misunderstanding on my part. The recommended action reads that council direct administration to enter into an agreement with the EDR Society to continue commercial cardboard recycling, but allow EPR to fully operate the recycling depot with previous services not covered by EPR available at the landfill. But when I compare that to the direction that came out of standing committee, which read that committee direct administration to bring extended producer responsibility phase 1 adjustment to town funded services to a future regular meeting of council, with the town maintaining the current level of service at the recycling depot and continuing commercial cardboard recycling. Doesn't sound the same to me. Like what I'm, and again, maybe I'm misunderstanding. The section that reads, with previous services not covered by EPR available at the landfill. Can you clarify that for me?
Yes, so option 1 of the report is actually the recommendation that we took to committee of the whole, which was option 1 then as well, was to just keep commercial cardboard recycling, but not continue the additional services at the recycle depot. But what council was looking to favor was actually option 2. And at the beginning of this report, it actually repeats the motion that council made at committee, and actually says that it is option 2 of the report that supports what council discussed at committee of the whole.
Good.
Leave it.
Councilor Good. Councilor Taylor.
Can you tell me why you picked option 1 versus option 2?
Mr. McLaughlin.
Administration was recommending option 1 because the additional services that will be continued at the recycle center are actually available at the landfill. So we thought that it is an available savings to reduce the services at the recycle center. But after council discussed it, they were favoring option 2 following your discussion.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Councilor Stashik.
Thank you, Mayor Nissen. Just to further clarify that point, I understand the recommendation, but to further clarify, aren't all the services that are currently offered at the Rowan Street Recycle Depot offered at the landfill as well?
Mr. McLaughlin.
That is correct, but EPR is going to be continuing all the services except for these additional ones. But yes, much of that is available at the landfill.
Okay, thank you.
Sale Vanasek.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to add on to that a little bit, part of our conversation was about the type of materials that is going to be recycled, and why we recommended option 1 as a savings. You know, typically people will go about every week, but that's usually for plastics and cardboards, and usually the waste that you're producing a lot of. The items that they're no longer going to be offering at the recycle depot Aerosol containers, batteries, electronics, compost might be the exception, but you recycle those much less frequently. So, you know, we did think that this would be a weekly trip to the landfill, but this would be, you know, maybe once or twice a year, depending on if you create that type of waste. So that was part of our thought process and recommended option 1.
Thank you, City Open Asset, Councilor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So with the understanding that option 2 is by direction of council, or pardon me, by direction of committee of the whole, I'd like to put forward option number 2, that council direct administration to enter into agreement with Edson District Recycling Society to continue recycling services not paid for by EPR, including commercial cardboard recycling, other residential services, and hazard and special products collection. And if I may speak to it, Mr. Mayor? One of the considerations that particularly struck me was when it was elaborated on by administration as being an extension of hours, which is good. I think a lot of our citizens often complain or they're concerned that they don't have access to Rowan Street on Sunday. You know, and a lot of people try to get, you know, their work done outside of the regular work week. For myself, one of the biggest considerations is the grass clippings and the compost side of things. I know a lot of people do their yard work on the weekend and they bring in that recycling on Sunday. That's when they would like to bring that recycling to the center. So I think extending the hours but then moving a lot of that to the landfill, sort of it's self-defeating. What's the point? I think this is the kind of thing where down the road I might not be against further change, but right now as a community I think we still have some work to do to sell some of the benefits about what these changes are actually going to bring to citizens. Again, at this same meeting, I had requested some additional information on, are we going to be communicating some of the benefits to the community about what this is going to bring, notably the curbside recycling. It's been a push from a number of citizens in our community for a long time. When I saw the town communication piece, again, it wasn't mentioned. My understanding is that this is coming in October 2026, but nonetheless, it feels like this would be a good time to let our community members know about it. It's important enough that we've mentioned it in public sessions of council. So again, it's just all part of my thought processes related to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Magoon. Council, the motion on the floor is that council direct administration to enter into agreement with Edson District Recycling Society to continue recycling services not paid for by EPR, including commercial cardboard recycling, other residential services, and hazardous and special products, HSP collection. Councilor Hobbs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to be speaking in favor of this motion. I do understand and I appreciate administration. You know, we're saving about $300,000. I do agree that majority of this, or all of this, does go to the landfill. I guess my biggest concern, and I appreciate CEO Nasik's words of this, these are not common things that go to the recycling depot. The one that stands out for me the most is the compost, the grass clippings, and the brush. You know, my concerns is the convenience, because unfortunately too, our landfill site is not open on Sundays as well. So those individuals that were not using the recycling center would like to see it open on Sunday. The landfill's not open on Sunday. And my biggest concern with without that convenience, then they will end up in our landfill. The other thing I see with composting and things like that, unfortunately, I witnessed the dumping of clippings and things in areas that are dangerous to our community fire-wise. They'll put them in their, you know, nearby bushes, things like that. So having that in the community, a place to dump them is my preference at this point, because it just, and I think that if we take that convenience away, it won't go to the landfill, it'll go to other areas in our community. And then the aerosol containers of batteries I get, but they too probably will end up in their dumpster instead of rather at the recycling depot. So I think, you know, for the benefits, we are saving for EPR, but we still have the services that we've provided all these years for our citizens. So, you know, and then we'll probably take a look at this at another point in time down the road when things are happening and the transition's happening and see, you know, where things lie at that time. But I'm definitely in favor of continuing the services as they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Council, the motion on the floor is the council direct administration to enter into agreement with the Edson District Recycling Society to continue recycling services not paid for by EPR, including commercial cardboard recycling, other residential services, and hazardous and special products HSP collection. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, I did talk to citizens and businesses on this, and the citizens for the other residential services and the hazardous special projects collection didn't think that the cost was worth the loss of the service that they've been getting for quite a while. And the businesses didn't appreciate the $40,000 downloading on them in light of the fact that they're already paying higher taxes. So in the good discussions of tax rates, so I favor going ahead with the recommended motion. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Council, is there any further discussion? So the motion on the floor is the council direct administration to enter into agreement with Edson District Recycling Society to continue recycling services not paid for by EPR, including commercial cardboard recycling, other residential services, and hazardous and special products HSP collection. Seeing no further discussion, we will call the question. All those in favor? And that motion is carried unanimously. Council, is there anything further for item